comes to a P. Diddy party, this is what happens to the white man. When they come to one of my parties, this is what happens to them.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
I was up, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice.
He's dealt with every challenge in his life, and he's not guilty. He's innocent of these charges.
When Sean Diddy Combs was arrested by the Department of Homeland Security, it didn't catch many off guard. For nearly a year, he faced escalating lawsuits and accusations. Diddy's behavior had long raised eyebrows. His relationships with teenage artists like Justin Bieber and Usher were often viewed as inappropriate. Speculation surrounded his possible connections to the untimely deaths of Biggie and Tupac. His relentless pursuit of the spotlight was evident. Allegations of even more disturbing actions circulated, though they were often whispered rather than spoken aloud. For years, many believed that Diddy wasn't the benevolent music mogul he and his team portrayed.
So I had two choices. Either I was gonna sit in that failure and give up, or I was gonna make a decision to step out of the darkness. You see, when you're in that darkness, you wanna sit there and wait for the light to come. The only way out is to step forward, to face your fears, to become your own light.
Behind his substantial donations to schools and public activism, there was a persistent sense of malevolence that even his billion-dollar fortune couldn't conceal. Associations with allegations of murder and theft don't arise without cause.
I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
However, it wasn't until his arrest that Diddy's true nature was fully exposed. He wasn't merely a complex figure with a shadowy side. The federal government's charges of sex trafficking confirmed a deep-seated malevolence. The evidence unveiled a pattern of exploitation, suggesting that his music empire was a facade for his darker pursuits. Paradoxically, his arrest raised more questions than it answered. While his unsavory character was known, the depth of his alleged crimes began to surface, drawing parallels to figures like Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein. This wasn't just about one individual's misconduct, but pointed to a broader criminal enterprise involving abuse and exploitation. This revelation prompts several pressing questions. How did Diddy evade detection for so long? What is the full extent of his alleged crimes? More disturbingly, who within his extensive network of celebrity friends and powerful contacts was aware of, or complicit in, his actions? The magnitude of Diddy's alleged offenses, combined with his influence in the industry, suggests a vast web of deceit and malevolence beyond prior comprehension. Ironically, his arrest, intended to bring justice, has unveiled even more layers of intrigue and horror. If we consider Diddy's own narrative, he casts himself as a hero. Throughout his career, he invested heavily in crafting a positive public image. As recently as 2021, a Vanity Fair profile titled "With Love, Sean Combs" shed light on how he wished to be perceived and his self-conception. In that interview, he spoke of a newfound purpose, which he claimed was divinely inspired.
I feel like God sent me. God put on my heart, what's your purpose? I was looking at all these things, preachers and different people talking about purpose, because I realized purpose is something deep. Have I really found my purpose? I know I'm making money and I'm successful and I'm changing the game, but is that my purpose? And then I really prayed on it, and God told me, your purpose is to play a part in saving the black race.
The man who built his career by trapping fellow black artists in exploitative record deals that enriched him at their expense. The same man who, after a tragedy claimed the lives of nearly a dozen black children at one of his concerts, claimed he tried to help, then fled the scene. The same man who testified against Shine, a young rapper on his label, sending him to prison for a decade to protect himself, effectively derailing Shine's life and career. The same man accused of grooming a teenage Usher. And the whispers about his involvement in Biggie Smalls' death, his supposed best friend and business partner, only add to the picture. That's the man who claimed he was destined to save the black race. The audacity is staggering. At the same time, Diddy was on a rebranding mission, adopting the moniker Love and delivering lofty speeches about progress and equality. His words were hollow then, and now, they're downright chilling considering what we've since learned about his actions. He said,
"The Me Too movement inspired me. It showed me that you can get maximum change." The journalist wrote, he launched a diversity training program this summer. The 6-week course is dubbed, in true Sean Combs fashion, the Excellence Program, and is designed to support aspiring entertainment executives from underrepresented communities.
But then, most absurdly, he declared,
I was sent here not to just do things that are rooted in personal success, but to be able to transfer to we and do things that are a real change, bringing communal success to everybody.
As if his track record ever suggested anything other than harm, exploitation, and manipulation. Long before everything came to light, people had already called out Diddy's hypocrisy. His history in business was far from honorable. Hearing him talk about saving the black race was absurd. Back then, interviews like the one with Vanity Fair painted him as a man of purpose, but in hindsight, they only underline the depth of his deceit. While he publicly championed community and progress, behind the scenes, he exploited black artists, manipulated deals for his own gain, and abused black women. Even just months before Cassie's explosive lawsuit dismantled his image, Diddy received the Global Icon Award at the VMAs and was handed this key to New York City by Eric Adams. He worked tirelessly to cultivate a polished image. For many, Diddy represented triumph against all odds, opening schools, founding charities, and embodying black excellence. But that narrative was just a facade. In 2016, he launched a charter school in Harlem with great fanfare, touting better opportunities for kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. Yet reports from parents revealed a different story: poor management, teacher turnover, and violence among students. Diddy's relentless need for attention says more than any of his accolades. Most people with his trail of bad press and dark rumors would have laid low, but his overwhelming narcissism and lack of self-awareness pushed him to keep himself in the public eye. From motivational speeches to endless PR campaigns and luxury yacht videos, he kept the spotlight on him. Ironically, it may have accelerated his downfall. If he hadn't spent so much effort showcasing himself, perhaps his misdeeds wouldn't be as glaringly exposed now. Despite his best attempts to spin a narrative, Diddy's relentless self-promotion ultimately worked against him. Sitting in federal custody, facing the possibility of a life sentence, his constructed image lies in tatters. His biography, filled with ridiculous self-praise, only underscores the vast chasm between the man he claimed to be and the truth.
Sean Combs was only 2 years old when he realized his life's passion. His mother had dressed him up for a fashion show at his daycare center, and as the little boy toddled out, the light hit him and the audience cooed at his adorable entrance. Combs later said, "As soon as the spotlight hit me, I embraced it." He says, "I came out and tried to steal the show," and what he accomplished with cuteness at 2 has repeated over the years with hard work and determination. Enormously talented and regularly controversial, Sean Combs has created an empire in film, fashion, and fragrance, changing the face of hip-hop forever. At age 2, Combs knew what he wanted from life, and since that first spotlight, he's been stealing the show ever since.
Diddy's absurd claims of philanthropy and moral leadership showcase just how disconnected he is from reality. Despite his wealth and influence, he couldn't resist staying in the public eye long enough to avoid the spotlight exposing his actions. For decades, rumors about his true nature circulated like wildfire. The long-running joke that you had to sleep with Diddy for a record deal wasn't just some throwaway punchline. It always carried an air of uncomfortable truth. Even major names in music like Eminem, 50 Cent, Cat Williams, and Kanye West publicly aired their disdain for him. And it wasn't just whispers or speculation. His business dealings were openly predatory. Everyone knew about the contracts that kept artists chained to exploitative deals. Diddy built his empire on the backs of others, and he didn't even try to hide it. What made it worse was his craving for fame. Always on a talk show, always giving an interview, or accepting another award, his relentless need for attention felt sinister. Most shady businessmen operate quietly. Diddy, on the other hand, seemed to revel in the attention, almost as if he were daring people to call him out. Now, sitting in federal custody and facing charges that could keep him behind bars for life, the mask has been ripped away. He wasn't just a greedy or unethical mogul. His business tactics were a smokescreen for something far darker. Every rumor, every story, they weren't just true. They were the tip of an iceberg so massive it's hard to grasp its scale. And if you want to understand the depths of his actions, one of the clearest places to start is with the women in his life. The tributes Diddy posted for Kim Porter, along with his public displays of grief.
For the last 3 days, I've been trying to wake up from this nightmare, but I haven't. I don't know what I'm gonna do without you. I miss you so much. And later, we were more than best friends. We were more than soulmates. We were some other shit, and I still miss you so much.
Initially made it seem like he genuinely cared, but then the conspiracy theories began to surface. The circumstances surrounding Kim's death were, at best, puzzling. At just 47, living in an affluent Los Angeles neighborhood with access to the finest healthcare, her sudden death from pneumonia raised questions. How does someone in her position die at home within days without seeking medical attention? It's a valid point to question. Healthy, wealthy individuals don't just pass away without warning. Over time, rumors and speculation started to suggest her death might not have been as straightforward as it seemed. One persistent theory was that Kim had been working on a tell-all book about her years with Diddy, exposing his darker side and the abusive dynamics of their relationship. Given what's now known about his behavior with other women, this rumor doesn't seem entirely far-fetched. Even stranger was the timeline of her autopsy, which remained inconclusive for months before pneumonia was officially confirmed. Some discussions online even pointed to theories involving foul play, including the possibility of poisoning with ricin, a substance capable of inducing pneumonia-like symptoms. None of this has been proven, But the whispers haven't stopped. Adding to the confusion, a fabricated memoir about Kim Porter, claiming to expose secrets, briefly became a bestseller before being discredited as fiction. Written under a pseudonym by an author with no real connection to Kim, it blurred the lines between truth and conspiracy even further. What is undeniable, however, is that her death has become one of the most mysterious chapters in Diddy's life. These lingering questions only deepen the shadow over their relationship. Whether any of the rumors hold truth or are just internet speculation, Kim's untimely death at 47 remains deeply unsettling. And while it may be a piece of the larger puzzle of Diddy's alleged actions, it's clear it isn't the whole story. Still, Kim's case represents just one part of a much broader narrative. Other women in Diddy's life, like Jennifer Lopez, have also found themselves under scrutiny. J.Lo, for instance, has faced repeated questions about her connection to Diddy, particularly regarding her presence on the night of the infamous shooting that sent Shine to prison for a decade. Her refusal to address these inquiries, at times abruptly ending public events when asked, has only fueled speculation. And then came the lawsuit from Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, in 2023. Her chilling, detailed accusations validated years of rumors about his behavior. This moment, where truth began to surface, marked a turning point in how the world viewed Diddy and his carefully crafted public image.
Here you go, show her to Cassie right here, guys.
Cassie finding peace and purpose after Diddy's arrest. The source telling ET it's a huge weight off her shoulders. And the singer feels much more confident about her safety with Diddy being in jail. The details come nearly a year after Cassie first filed a lawsuit against her ex.
I'm truly sorry.
After Cassie's out-of-court settlement with Diddy, the media mogul was hit with home raids, the release of security footage by CNN proving his abuse of Cassie, then his federal indictment, arrest, and hundreds more assault allegations that he's denied full stop. Our insider saying Cassie knows she's a pioneer and feels honored by her role in Diddy's downfall.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires.
He believes he's innocent. I believe he's innocent.
ET's source adding, Cassie's grateful for the outpouring of support, and she's glad other alleged victims now feel safe to speak out.
If the prosecutors are able to prove their claims, I think he should be in prison for the rest of his life.
Victims' rights attorney Lisa Bloom represents former Danity Kane member Don Richard, who filed a new lawsuit against Diddy last month.
Don was very much inspired by Cassie Ventura's bravery in filing her complaint. The day has finally come. The federal criminal system has now come for Sean Combs, and we hope that justice will be done.
He has been ready to defend this case since he first found out about this case. Nothing has changed from his perspective.
In 2022, Mr. Combs received the Lifetime Achievement Award at the BET Awards. During his acceptance speech, Mr. Combs stated, "I have to give a special shout out, thank you, to the people who were really there for me." He named a number of people before adding, "and also Cassie, for holding me down in the dark times." The truth, however, is that Cassie, Miss Cassandra Ventura, was instead held down by Mr. Combs.
But then it takes a darker turn. The details of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit against Diddy are beyond disturbing. While much of it cannot be shared here due to its explicit nature, the claims paint a horrifying picture of over a decade of abuse, manipulation, and violence.
Miss Ventura endured over a decade of Diddy's violent behavior and disturbed demands. For Miss Ventura, the dark times were those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and trafficking. Among other violent and unlawful acts, Mr. Combs assaulted Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, often physically attacked her, resulting in bruises, bleeding, and more, blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura, forced Miss Ventura to engage with male sex workers while filming events, demanded that Miss Ventura carry a firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable, and introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse. Ventura described being trapped in an unrelenting cycle of exploitation at Diddy's hands. The allegations include physical attacks that left her bruised and bleeding, incidents where he destroyed property to intimidate her, like blowing up a man's car out of jealousy, and coercion into degrading situations. She claimed he forced her into sexual encounters with male sex workers, dubbed freak-offs, which he orchestrated and documented. These events allegedly involved heavy drug use and took place in luxury hotels worldwide. The lawsuit also describes Diddy demanding Ventura carry a firearm in her purse solely to frighten her and introducing her to a life of substance abuse that left her physically and emotionally scarred. One particularly shocking accusation involved Diddy allegedly dangling a friend of Ventura's over a balcony, Combs allegedly forced Ventura into sexual encounters with male sex workers, which he called freak-offs. These encounters reportedly involved drug use, took place in various hotels around the world, and occurred frequently. Ventura claims she was required to facilitate these encounters, including finding sex workers and performing with them. These encounters reportedly caused severe anxiety and physical illness for Ventura, as well as giving her severe reactions to the numerous drugs she was forced to intake. The lawsuit also mentions an incident where Combs allegedly dangled Ventura's friend over a hotel balcony.
A chilling demonstration of control and dominance. The 35-page document is a catalog of terror, each page more horrifying than the last. Within just one day of its filing, Diddy settled for a staggering $30 million. His statement after the settlement was as dismissive as it was nauseating, describing the resolution as amicable and wishing Cassie and her family the best. But the settlement didn't close the door. It flung it wide open. Cassie's lawsuit served as a catalyst, revealing that Diddy's behavior wasn't isolated to one individual, but was part of a larger, deeply disturbing pattern. Over the following months, more lawsuits emerged, each one exposing further allegations of a lifestyle centered on exploitation and abuse. One of the most shocking lawsuits came from Grammy-nominated producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones. Jones worked with Diddy for 14 months and claimed to have direct evidence of misconduct, including incidents involving underage individuals and drug-laced drinks at Diddy's parties. The lawsuit also outlined a relentless campaign of harassment and manipulation, where Diddy allegedly promised career advancement in exchange for sexual favors. The allegations are graphic, with Jones detailing instances of unsolicited advances and a toxic environment designed to wear him down. These lawsuits reveal a chilling reality. Diddy's alleged actions were not a series of isolated incidents, but part of a calculated, decades-long system of abuse. With each new claim, the magnitude of his behavior becomes clearer, and even more horrifying.
Throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant unsolicited, unauthorized groping and touching of his body parts by Mr. Combs. These events took place in Los Angeles, New York, Florida, and the US Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, who responded with, "You know, Sean will be Sean." The chief of staff also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were his way of showing that he likes you.
The lawsuit spans 73 pages and includes photographic evidence allegedly showing Cuba Gooding Jr. forcing himself on Rodney Jones. Gooding has a public history of similar accusations. The suit also provides graphic details about Christina Coram, Diddy's longtime chief of staff, likening her role to that of Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's former assistant who was convicted of sex trafficking and is now serving a 20-year prison sentence.
It was important to defendant Coram to have Mr. Combs' drug of choice immediately ready whenever he asks for it. Defendant Coram required all employees, from the butler to the chef to the housekeepers, to walk around with a pouch filled with cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana, and Tusi. Defendant Coram also ordered sex workers and prostitutes for Mr. Combs. She ordered and distributed ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, mushrooms, and more to Mr. Combs and his guests who were present on his rented yacht and in his homes in LA, New York City, and Miami. On multiple occasions, she forced Mr. Jones to carry Mr. Combs' drug pouch against his will.
6 months after filing the lawsuit, Rodney Jones shared his grim reality in an interview. He revealed he was living in fear, hiding, and unable to find work in the music industry. "He's a monster," Jones said. "He'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants. He doesn't take no for an answer." Diddy's legal team quickly dismissed the lawsuit as a cash grab, but by then, the damage was done. The public had already made up its mind. Even with limited evidence, the court of public opinion decided Jones's claims were credible. Diddy's reputation was in free fall months before the federal authorities stepped in. Social media only added fuel to the fire. Old posts about Christina Coram, Diddy's longtime chief of staff, began surfacing. Despite being a private figure until her involvement became public, comments flooded in, labeling her as complicit and demanding accountability. The outrage was palpable, even before Diddy's arrest. Shortly after, singer Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, filed her own lawsuit. As a former artist under Diddy's Bad Boy Records, she shared troubling accounts of her experiences. Richard confirmed she had witnessed Diddy abusing Cassie on several occasions, but Richard herself was also a victim. She recounted incidents dating back to her time on Making the Band in 2004, where she and her bandmates endured grueling conditions, rehearsing for up to 48 hours straight without breaks or food. She described a culture of fear Diddy instilled in all the women he worked with. Richards' allegations didn't stop there. She claimed Diddy would force meetings while inappropriately dressed or grope her during stylist fittings. One particularly chilling incident in 2010 involved Diddy allegedly attempting to strike her after she asked him to stop verbally abusing her. Her story added yet another layer to the growing mountain of accusations. More disturbing lawsuits followed, some involving victims of shockingly young ages. The specifics of these allegations are too graphic to detail, but paint a horrifying picture of systemic abuse. While the number of lawsuits led some to question their legitimacy, others viewed them as proof of a deeper, more sinister pattern. Attorney Tony Busby, representing many of the plaintiffs, became a central figure in these cases. Known for his involvement in high-profile legal battles, Busby claimed he had dozens of additional lawsuits ready to file against Diddy, with some accusers alleging abuse that occurred when they were minors. While Busby's aggressive approach raised eyebrows, his track record in similar cases made it hard to dismiss the gravity of these claims. As the lawsuits piled up, the Department of Homeland Security took notice. Their involvement signaled that the accusations went beyond civil claims. They were now matters of federal concern. By the time Diddy was arrested, the world was already convinced of his guilt, leaving little room for sympathy or redemption.
Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the many people he has hurt. When Cassie and multiple other women came forward, he denied everything and suggested that his victims were looking for a payday. The fact that he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words.
Eventually, the federal authorities acted. After months of investigation, they arrested Diddy, and the most significant lawsuit yet was filed: the United States of America versus Sean Combs. The charges were damning: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. These allegations alone painted a grim picture, but Diddy's response revealed even more about his character. Even before the federal lawsuit, Diddy and his team clung to one strategy: denial. He categorically rejected all accusations, with his representatives echoing his claims of innocence. Diddy continued to publicly declare that the allegations were baseless, dismissing his accusers at every opportunity. But his persistence in maintaining this narrative, despite mounting evidence, was a glaring miscalculation. For most people facing such serious accusations, silence or withdrawal would seem the logical course. Harvey Weinstein, for instance, disappeared from the public eye before his arrest. But Diddy's overwhelming arrogance and apparent detachment from reality drove him to remain vocal and visible. His misjudgment became even more evident when, just weeks after Cassie's lawsuit, another anonymous accuser stepped forward. She alleged Diddy had sexually assaulted her in his studio in the early 2000s. Her claim included photographic evidence of her presence at the studio, including a photo of her sitting on Diddy's lap. The lawyer representing her was the same one who had handled Cassie's case and had a history of taking on high-profile figures like Bill O'Reilly and Harvey Weinstein. Instead of reevaluating his public stance, Diddy doubled down. He issued a public statement, but his words only highlighted his arrogance and lack of self-awareness. This overconfidence, rooted in years of unchecked power and influence, only served to confirm what many already suspected about his character.
For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation and my legacy. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday.
He also said,
"Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged. I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth."
In the wake of Sean Diddy Combs' arrest on charges including sex trafficking and racketeering, his children have publicly expressed their support for him. On October 22, 2024, 6 of his 7 children, Quincy, Justin, Christian, Chance, and twins Jesse and Delilah, shared a joint statement on Instagram. "The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusations, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on social media. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way. We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail, and nothing will break the strength of our family.
The past month has devastated our family. Many have judged both him and us based on accusations, conspiracy theories, and false narratives that have spiraled into absurdity on social media. We stand united, supporting you every step of the way. We hold on to the truth, knowing it will prevail, and nothing will break the strength of our family. We miss you and love you, Dad."
We miss you and love you, Dad. This statement underscores the family's solidarity amid the legal challenges Combs faces. Despite the serious nature of the allegations, his children emphasize their belief in his innocence and their commitment to supporting him through the ordeal. In addition to their public statements, Combs' children have continued to participate in personal and public events. For instance, his twin daughters, Jessie and Delilah, celebrated their high school senior night, sharing photos in cheerleading uniforms at a football game. This celebration occurred shortly after attending their father's third bail hearing. The family's public support highlights their unity and resilience during this challenging period, as they navigate the complexities of the legal proceedings and the accompanying media scrutiny. Even after the release of damning video evidence showing Diddy violently assaulting his girlfriend, his mother, Janice Combs, publicly came to his defense. She penned a letter that can only be described as tone-deaf and shockingly dismissive. In it, she not only excused his actions but also employed manipulative guilt-tripping tactics aimed at discrediting his accusers. Her words were as follows.
She completely excuses his actions and even uses bizarre guilt trip tactics to make his accusers look bad. She wrote things like this.
I am devastated and profoundly saddened. This seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he has the opportunity to prove his innocence.
Breaking news tonight, Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in a Manhattan hotel this evening after a grand jury indicted the music mogul. His attorney tells CNN that he is currently being processed. The charges are unclear as of this moment. Joining us now is CNN's entertainment reporter Elizabeth Wagmeister, and also with us CEO chief legal correspondent Ellie Honing. Elizabeth, you were a big part of revealing some details about Diddy's conduct in private over the course of the last couple of months. That video led to a lot more scrutiny on what he has been accused of. What do we know at this point about what this case might ultimately be about?
Abby, at the moment, we don't know what the charges are. I have information that he was arrested tonight at a Manhattan hotel. He is currently being processed. I heard from his attorney, they are still maintaining his innocence. They said that in anticipation of these charges that Diddy relocated to New York last week. And here's a statement that I have from his attorney. He says, "We are disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs by the U.S. Attorney's Office." He goes on to say that he is an imperfect person, but is not criminal. Now, Abby, that video that you just spoke about was a few months ago when our team broke this disturbing video of Diddy violently assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, better known as the singer, her stage name, Cassie. Now, up until this point, when we broke this video, Diddy had denied the allegations against him. Cassie is one of 10 civil suits against Diddy, 9 of which he is accused directly of sexually assault. Up until that video, he denied everything. After that video came out, he changed his tone. He apologized for his conduct in that video. But I have to tell you, Abby, just as of last week, a former member of Danity Kane, which was one of the bands from Making the Band, Diddy's show that was on MTV, she sued him for sexual assault and other disturbing allegations, and he denied that. So he continues the denials, and he still maintains his innocence, even though he has been arrested tonight.
And Ellie, not a huge amount of information available tonight, but Elizabeth brought up something that I want you to give us a little bit of insight into. Diddy is here in New York, in Manhattan. He apparently came here in anticipation that something like this might happen. What should we understand about what that might mean? It could very well be that this is a federal arrest being processed here in New York.
So, Abby, there are some important things we do not know, including the specific charges that have been lodged against Sean Combs. But there are some really important things we do know. First of all, based on the attorney's statement, based on our reporting, this is a federal prosecution. It's not a state prosecution. The fact that he's being processed in Manhattan tells me that's the Southern District of New York. That's consistent with the reporting that the Southern District of New York had been handling this case. That's the office I used to work at. That's an office that sort of specializes in high stakes cases. Just in the last year or so, Southern District of New York, just as an example, has successfully prosecuted Sam Bankman-Fried, Senator Robert Menendez. The other thing that we do know is a grand jury has indicted Sean Combs, meaning they found probable cause that he committed at least one federal crime. Now, as to what happens next, there will be, likely tomorrow or within the next couple days, but usually in the SDNY, you try to do it the next day, there will be an arraignment, meaning Sean Combs will appear in court with his lawyers. There are no cameras in federal court. He will be advised of the charges against him, and he will almost certainly enter a not guilty plea. But the key thing to watch for is then we'll have the question of bail. Will prosecutors agree to let him out on bail? Will prosecutors ask the judge to lock him up pending trial? That could end up in a contentious argument. So these are things that are going to play out over the next 24 or 48 hours. And finally, Abby, with respect to the charges themselves, it's important to note, we've all seen that video, but assault and sexual assault are not federal crimes. Those are prosecuted in state court. So what I expect to see when we see this indictment is some sort of crime with some element of organization to it, sex trafficking, something along those lines, if it's based on some of the allegations we've heard.
And of course, back in March, his homes in LA and in Miami were raided. All of this leading up to this moment. Elizabeth and Ellie, a lot more to this story will be coming up in the coming days and weeks.
It's some of the most absurd and self-righteous rhetoric imaginable. To frame Diddy facing accountability as a public lynching is not only delusional, but also a gross insult to the real victims of his alleged actions.
Watching the world make jokes and laugh at my son's life crumbling before our eyes is something I'll never forget. It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against my son so quickly and easily over lies, without ever affording him the opportunity to present his side. These lies thrown at him are motivated by those seeking a financial gain, not justice. This injustice has been unbearable for my family. My son is not the monster they painted him to be. I can only pray I am alive to see him speak his truth and be vindicated.
If there's ever been a more baffling response to being arrested on federal charges of sexual abuse, I've yet to see it. Diddy's Instagram posts, including a celebratory one for his youngest daughter's birthday, would seem innocuous if he weren't in custody for trafficking allegations. With the weight of public evidence against him, these posts come across as eerie and bizarre, a tone-deaf attempt at normalcy when the world knows otherwise. Diddy's denials about his actions, especially in Cassie's case, fell apart once undeniable proof surfaced. His family's vocal support might initially seem like an insight into their belief in his innocence. But dig deeper, and it's hard not to see a more self-serving motivation. His son Christian, for instance, has faced allegations himself, including a lawsuit accusing him and Diddy of assaulting a woman in 2022. While it's not fair to implicate all of his children in his alleged crimes, they undoubtedly have a lot to lose if Diddy's empire crumbles, and much to gain if he manages to weather the storm. What's equally troubling is the circus surrounding his legal defense. His lawyer accused federal prosecutors of racism, claiming they targeted Diddy as a successful black man. Meanwhile, the defense made outlandish claims, like trying to rationalize Diddy's possession of excessive baby oil as merely a Costco shopping quirk. This kind of absurdity overshadowed any credible arguments they might have presented. It's worth noting that Diddy's previous legal team stepped away from his case months ago, reportedly recognizing it as a losing battle. His new representation, with ties to Harvey Weinstein's former defense attorney, hasn't fared much better. A recent motion they filed to make accusers' names public raised eyebrows, ostensibly to prevent false claims. In reality, prosecutors revealed it was likely a strategy to intimidate witnesses. According to reports, Diddy had already been contacting witnesses and victims, offering bribes such as paying rent in exchange for public support. One victim claimed that when she pointed out similarities between her experience and Cassie's lawsuit, Diddy attempted to silence her with money, an act recorded and now in prosecutors' hands. Even in the face of overwhelming evidence and serious charges, Diddy's actions reflect a dangerous blend of arrogance and denial. His continued efforts to manipulate the narrative rather than stepping back only further tarnish his reputation and reinforce the severity of the accusations against him.
Combs' alleged witness tampering was a focal point of Southern District of New York prosecutors' argument that he should remain in federal custody as the high-profile case heads to trial. The former billionaire's long history of obstruction and violence demonstrates that the defendant simply cannot overcome the presumption that no condition or combination of conditions can ensure the safety of the community. His influence makes it difficult to ensure that witnesses can share their experiences and trust that the government can keep them safe, said attorney Emily Johnson, one of the prosecutors. In the months leading up to Combs' indictment, prosecutors claimed that Combs and his co-conspirators had constant contact with witnesses over several different methods, sometimes after the witnesses received subpoenas to testify in front of a grand jury.
After federal agents arrested Diddy in September, he attempted to secure bail 3 times, even offering a $50 million bond. Each request was denied by judges citing his status as a flight risk and his history of witness intimidation. Currently, Diddy resides in the Metropolitan Detention Center, a notorious facility that has housed infamous inmates like R. Kelly, Sam Bankman-Fried, and Ghislaine Maxwell. This marks a shocking fall for a man who once stood at the pinnacle of the entertainment world. As a billionaire mogul, Diddy was celebrated as a trailblazer in hip-hop and a key figure in creating some of the most iconic music acts of the 1990s and 2000s. Now, he faces charges so severe that a conviction could mean life in prison. What makes this story even more chilling is the steady flow of new accusations and evidence surfacing against him. Despite the overwhelming evidence from videos and texts to his murky history, Diddy continues to plead not guilty, insisting on his innocence. His family, too, remains vocal in their support, but their unwavering stance seems more about preserving their stake in his empire than any real belief in his integrity. Public opinion, however, has shifted drastically, with many viewing his denial as arrogance rather than confidence. Diddy's once celebrated persona has unraveled, revealing a legacy built on exploitation and abuse. His rise from a fatherless child in Harlem to a hip-hop billionaire seemed like a story of resilience. However, beneath the image of a philanthropist and entrepreneur lay decades of systematic manipulation and harm. What's even more disturbing is the eerie silence from Diddy's wide network of powerful friends and collaborators. Throughout his career, he mingled with icons like Oprah, Ellen, Jay-Z, and LeBron. But as the truth about his actions emerged, these connections vanished without a trace. The lack of support or defense from his once loyal peers speaks volumes about the fear and complicity that may have surrounded his behavior. Digging deeper into his past connections raises even more questions. Figures like Clive Davis, a legendary music producer with his own controversial history, loom large in Diddy's origin story. Davis reportedly provided the $50 million advance that launched Bad Boy Records, fueling speculation about what strings might have been attached to their relationship. While nothing has been confirmed, Davis's reputation for questionable dealings casts a shadow over Diddy's meteoric rise. Other figures from Diddy's orbit, like L.A. Reid and Andre Harrell, have also faced allegations of abusive behavior, though many of these stories remain difficult to prove. What is clear is that Diddy's rise was not an isolated event, but part of a broader pattern of exploitation that has long plagued the music industry. Perhaps most unsettling is the implication that many in his circle were aware of his behavior. While not everyone who appeared at Diddy's infamous parties or collaborated with him may have been complicit, it's hard to believe that such widespread abuse could occur without some knowledge. As the allegations mount, more individuals in Diddy's orbit are distancing themselves, with some, like Meek Mill, vehemently denying any connection. Even the Kardashian family, once close to Diddy, has been tied to bizarre and unsettling stories about his infamous parties. Reports of inappropriate events involving young Justin Bieber and others only add to the grotesque image of Diddy's private life. The deeper you look, the more sinister the story becomes. Diddy's crimes, as horrifying as they are, seem less like the actions of a lone predator, and more like the product of a system designed to enable and protect powerful men. Whether through fear, complicity, or silence, many of his associates may have played a role in allowing his behavior to continue unchecked. As Diddy's trial looms, one thing is certain. This is not just a story about one man's fall. It's a reckoning for an industry and a culture that has long prioritized profit and power over accountability and justice.
Who was with you this weekend? A bunch of my friends. Diddy, Quincy, Justin Bieber, so far French so good. Montana.
This party, I think half the people there were butt naked.
Do you know that when I gave birth to you, you were born with all of your eggs, and you were also born with any of True's eggs? Mom, Kendall I didn't know this.
Who told you? You're just trusting something Kendall said?
Who has no kids?
Who doesn't know how to cut a cucumber?
When I gave birth to Chloe, she was born with all of her eggs.
Yes.
But what about True?
Yeah, of course.
Kendall.
Do you, my mom, Chloe, and I are having this debate. When my mom gave birth to Chloe,
a man's sperm dictates if you're the gender of a baby.
But is Chloe born with all of True's eggs?
No.
See? Chloe and I are right. I'm talking to a certified doctor.
So we're talking to a real doctor, and the doctor says you're wrong, and that yes, I'm born with all my.
Let
Dr. A answer.
Let Kendall explain.
Kendall isn't a doctor.
About this.
You're in charge of a lot, but not that.
She's saying that you're not forming.
Now you're gone. We love you.
Way to burst my bubble.
We all need a Chloe in our lives.
Thank God my ovaries were
Kendall
working
will
that
always
day.
be mom's screensaver, no matter what.
Another curious connection in Diddy's tangled web is his relationship with Oprah Winfrey, the billionaire television icon known for her inspiring public persona. Oprah attended many of Diddy's infamous parties, despite maintaining close ties to other controversial figures like Harvey Weinstein. The contrast between Diddy's outward image of success and empowerment and the reality of his alleged crimes highlights a glaring absurdity. In one instance, Diddy and Jay-Z filmed a self-congratulatory clip, praising their own vision of black excellence, while behind the scenes, Diddy allegedly orchestrated a sex trafficking operation. The silence from Diddy's influential circle of friends, including Oprah, Ellen, Kim Kardashian, and LeBron James, speaks volumes.
Let's go back to the phones. Caller, what's your name and from where are you calling?
Hi, I'm Janine from Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hey, Janine, what's your question?
Diddy, are you going to accept Kevin Hart's challenge he posed to you on Twitter and run a marathon with him this year?
I already ran one marathon.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
No.
I'm not doing that. I did it already, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah. How often do you work out, by the way?
I try 4 times a week.
You try 4 times a week.
I'm not going to try. I'm going to do
you
4
do
times
it
a
4
week.
times a week. Are you going to come back to Broadway, do you think?
I don't think so.
You don't?
I don't think so.
Just, again, because you did it, and now...
Yes, I did it. Certain things take so much time.
Yeah.
When you have 6 kids, just realistically,
right.
you say, can you do that? I know a lot of single mothers and also parents on there.
Right.
There,
and you have all these businesses.
Yes.
I have to imagine it was a huge strain on your life.
No, I mean, it was a great experience, but you have to devote your life to that for at least 6 months at the minimum.
Yeah.
And I don't have the luxury to do that right now.
Hey, what do you think of Oprah for president?
I love that.
You do?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've known her well for a long time.
Yes.
Think she could do it?
Yeah, I know she could do it, without a doubt.
Wow. You think you could do it?
No.
No, you don't.
I didn't know you were still shooting. I put my shades back on.
Yeah,
I
that's
need
okay.
people to see my eyes.
Yes, we like to see your eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought we were shooting a promo or something.
No.
You have more questions?
The after show. Yeah.
Oh, this is the after show after the other show?
Yeah.
Oh, man, let's go.
Yeah. Back to the phones. Caller, what's your name and from where are you calling?
Hey, Joe Martinez here from Dallas, Texas.
Hey, Joe.
Hello, Joe.
I have a question. Hey. I have a question for Diddy.
Okay.
So just between you and me, Laverne Cox, she competed on I Want to Work for Diddy. And have you had a chance to keep in touch with her at all?
No, I haven't, but I'm definitely proud of her and everything that she's been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of pride in, being the first person to put her on TV. I actually got an award from
GLAAD.
From GLAAD, yes,
right.
for doing that. So to see her go on and have success is great.
Back to the phones. Last call of the night. Caller, what's your name and from where are you calling? Hey, I look damn good in these glasses. Hey, what's your question?
My question's for Diddy. I was wondering, have you ever listened to your own music in the bedroom?
Have you ever listened to your own music in the bedroom?
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. How do these glasses work on me, okay?
Yeah. Good. Like if you had a black turtleneck on.
I agree. I love a black turtleneck.
You had a pair of these boots right here.
I know. I love your boots.
Oh, thank you.
I'm noticing those.
Thank you.
I checked out all your accessories and everything. Yeah. I want to thank Diddy. Watch the 4 Battle for Stardom.
While not everyone linked to Diddy is implicated in his alleged crimes, the collective refusal to address or denounce his actions raises questions. Could they have been entirely oblivious? Or did their own self-preservation outweigh the moral responsibility to speak out? For those who thrive on public approval, aligning with someone whose reputation is in free fall is career suicide. The stakes are high for celebrities who build their brands on public trust and relatability. Criticizing Diddy could damage their carefully curated personas. With so much to lose, it's unsurprising that many have chosen to stay silent even as evidence against him mounts. Diddy's history of intimidation only compounds the issue. Over the years, he has been accused of stalking those who crossed him, using firearms as threats, and even blowing up Kid Cudi's car during a relationship dispute involving Cassie. His possession of ghost guns, firearms with removed serial numbers, adds to his reputation as someone willing to do whatever it takes to maintain control. As Diddy's circle of friends grows quieter, the silence becomes deafening. When faced with public exposure, most people would rush to distance themselves and claim ignorance. Yet, Diddy's allies remain notably restrained. This lack of public denial or condemnation is telling. It hints at a deeper fear. Perhaps they are afraid of what Diddy might reveal about them. The idea echoes the dark forest hypothesis from discussions of extraterrestrial life. Civilizations remain silent to avoid detection by others who could destroy them. In Diddy's case, the analogy fits uncomfortably well. If he were truly acting alone, it's likely some of his peers would have spoken out by now. Instead, the eerie silence suggests a widespread fear of retaliation or exposure. Celebrity culture thrives on visibility and attention. Yet in Diddy's case, the usual scramble for relevance has been replaced by an almost universal retreat. Tabloids speculate endlessly, but the absence of direct commentary from those once closest to him suggests there may be more to his network than meets the eye. As his trial looms, the spotlight may soon shift to those who remained quiet, leaving the public to wonder, what are they hiding and why?
Diddy is still in total denial, and he actually expected all of his high-profile friends to stand up for him, especially his exes like Cameron Diaz and J-Lo. The source continued, he can't wrap his head around the fact that everyone's dropped him. They said there's legitimate fear among a huge swath of people in Hollywood that he could seriously embarrass them if he decided to talk about what they shared with him back in the day. There are rumors that he's kept meticulous records and even video recordings of all the crazy stuff that went on his parties over the years, and it's only adding to everyone's panic. The word is, he's got enough dirt to hang half of Hollywood.
It's entirely possible these sources are fabricated, but let's consider for a moment that they're not. Why would celebrities, who usually jump at the chance to grab attention and position themselves as heroes, remain silent now? These are individuals who thrive on engagement, who seize every opportunity to be in the spotlight. So, why the quiet? The most plausible explanation is that speaking out would reflect poorly on them. For some, like Justin Bieber or Usher, the silence may stem from proximity to Diddy or events they'd rather not revisit. For others, it may expose uncomfortable truths about their own character. Diddy's ambition is a prime example of how drive can become a double-edged sword. His rise, from a fatherless child in poverty to one of the most powerful figures in entertainment, was a testament to what ambition can achieve. But unchecked ambition can easily spiral into something darker, like a driver in a speeding car, focused on reaching their destination, but oblivious to the collateral damage along the way. In Diddy's case, that ambition wasn't about bettering lives or building something meaningful. It was about feeding his own narcissism. His so-called empire became a carefully constructed facade, masking a pathological desire to exploit and control. He pursued wealth and power with relentless energy, not to uplift others, but to serve his own twisted needs. As Cassie's lawyer aptly put it when responding to Diddy's feeble apology, this was never about taking accountability. It was about him trying to salvage what he could from a crumbling facade. Their words capture the essence of what Diddy's story has come to symbolize. Ambition without humanity is nothing more than a mask for selfishness and abuse.
Combs' most recent statement is more about himself than the people he hurt. The fact that he was only compelled to apologize once his repeated denials were proven false shows his pathetic desperation, and no one will be swayed by his disingenuous words.
And that's just Diddy. When you take a step back and look at the people who surrounded him, people who seemed oblivious or chose to stay silent, you're faced with a haunting reality. It's unlikely Diddy acted entirely alone. From the Kardashians to Oprah, from Beyonce and Jay-Z to Meek Mill and Ellen DeGeneres, this isn't just about one man's crimes. It's about a system that places image and wealth far above morality and justice. As Diddy's trial approaches in May, the questions grow louder. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Who else might be implicated in this sprawling web of secrecy and lies? Diddy's downfall feels less like an isolated case and more like the first domino in what could be a much larger, far darker picture, one capable of shaking Hollywood and the music industry to their very core. Thousands of photos and videos captured Diddy as the life of the party, a charming, larger-than-life entertainer. But knowing what he was allegedly doing behind the scenes, that carefree image now casts an enormous shadow over everyone who stood by and allowed it to happen. And he's not alone. Bill Cosby, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, The list of powerful figures whose influence shielded them for years continues to grow. What's becoming painfully clear is that power and influence often attract a specific kind of person, one who thrives in a world where public opinion determines who succeeds and who fades away. Diddy's control over his circle likely created a chilling standoff. Many who might have known the truth about his character probably chose self-preservation over standing up for what's right. That silence isn't just an injustice. It's a glaring sign of how much remains hidden. Right now, much of this is conjecture, pieced together from clues and whispers. But as Diddy sits in prison awaiting trial, his prosecutors seem confident they have the evidence to back their case. While the full truth remains to be seen, one thing feels undeniable. The underbelly of the entertainment industry is far darker and more sinister than many ever imagined. And so, as Diddy sits behind bars, awaiting a trial that could reshape not just his legacy, but the perception of an entire industry, we're left with more questions than answers. How deep does this go? Who else is complicit? And what other secrets lie hidden in the shadows of Hollywood and the music industry? One thing is certain, Diddy's story isn't just about the rise and fall of a music mogul. It's a mirror reflecting the cracks in a system that has allowed power and wealth to protect the worst among us for far too long. As we wait for May and the revelations that are sure to follow, the world watches, wondering who will be next, and whether justice will finally catch up with those who thought they were untouchable. If you found this breakdown informative, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, discuss it, and let's keep the spotlight on the truth. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest updates on this case and the fallout that's sure to come. Your voice matters. Let's keep the conversation going. See you next time.